Unique Pathways is sponsored by Piedmont Realty Holdings, building better together. Bellaterra Landscaping and Hardscaping Services. ECS Prosthetics, we come to you. Jeff Burton Consulting, charting your path to a successful outcome. Major League Mindset, results on and off the field. Blue Sky Property Management, own your experience. BSN Sports, the heart of the game. And by Croze Sports, community, family, and sports.
Welcome into another episode of Unique Pathways presented by H3 Sports. I'm your host, Ben Rekosh, and our guest today needs no introduction. If you are a fan, if you are a follower of UVA baseball, he is the starting infielder, freshman number 9, the Charlottesville Tom Sox single-season home run leader, Henry Ford. Henry, pleasure to be with you today. Really excited to get into this.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so you started out the season on just a tear, 7 home runs, 35 RBIs, 17 extra base hits. That's at the time of this recording here. So simple question here. What's your mentality when you step up to the plate?
Really just to be competitive as I can and, just to be a tough at bat. No matter if I get out or if I get a hit, like just, trying to be super competitive and just beat the pitcher and hit a ball hard, to be honest. Like really simple approach, like not trying to do too much. Luckily the results have, worked out.
Yeah. Those 7 home runs there, what's going through your mind when you see a ball leave the yard there? Is it satisfaction? Is it rewarding for you? What does that make you think of?
Yeah. I think especially my first one was really cool. I was smiling a lot on that one. I mean, hitting home runs it never gets old. It's really cool. So there's definitely a satisfaction to it. Especially, when you're just helping your team win. That's really the bottom line, no matter what it is, if you help your team win, that's a really good feeling.
Yeah. Before we get in your story, I want to ask a little bit about when you first walked out of the dugout, ran onto the base paths on the dish, first game of the season, that orange and blue uniform on. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, no, I was shaking in the box. Like I was so nervous, and I didn't play the field. I DH'd my first game, so I just kind of had to watch. Like I didn't get to get the jitters out and like run onto the field. So going up to the box, like I think I swung and missed it like 2 terrible sliders in the dirt, and I was like, just make contact. And then luckily I made contact, and then kind of after that, like I calmed down and I was good and kind of rolled from there. But no, I was definitely super nervous, but at the same time, like it was super surreal. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and I'd worked hard for it. So it's been the funnest baseball that I've played for sure.
Yeah, I want to take it way back, going back to McIntyre Little League.
Yeah.
What do you remember from those days? Because Brian O'Connor recently called you in an interview. This is a direct quote. He called you a Little League legend in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
So how do you take that?
I mean, it's flattering. Those were great days. I remember those like they were yesterday, and just playing ball with your best friends after school. And in that league, it was really competitive league when I played in it. So, I have great memories, playing against, not even like all the home runs or like the hits or stuff like that. It's just, hanging out with, the fellas and, playing super competitive games against other teams, playing against like my best friend, but Preston Burton was like on our rival team, and we would, play all the time. So, they also the Little League All-Star teams were super fun. I remember like my 9-year-old year, we went to Grundy, Virginia, which was in the middle of nowhere. And like we got rain, it was like a rain delay for like 5 hours. So like we were playing chess, like, and like middle of nowhere, Virginia, just having like a blast. Like it was fun. It was good times.
Yeah, some great memories there at McIntyre Little League. I watched an interview with CBS Sports, and you described a memory of when you hit 3 home runs playing against Oak Sun.
Yeah.
Do you remember that day? Do you remember that day? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll never forget that day. I mean, I was super excited. I knew he was going to be there, so I wanted to do well. And because I obviously wanted to go to Virginia for a long time, and so that was a big moment for me. And then yeah, like I said in the interview, like he kind of came up to me the next day and was like, "Take it easy on him today," and that was really cool.
How old were you for that? Was that like
I was 12
early?
for
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it was just past McIntyre at the end of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I want to go to Stab a little bit here.
Mhm.
So you're obviously known for your baseball, but you have a great basketball prowess, especially that freshman team. I want to just go through who was on that freshman
Yeah,
team because it was absolutely stacked.
yeah.
7 players I counted, and if my count's right, went on to play college basketball. Name a few: Ethan Delorier for Navy, Carter Lang for Vanderbilt, Justin Taylor for Syracuse, Malachi Poindexter, Chance Mallory, and many more. So, how do you take that team? What do you remember from that team
Mhm.
later down the road and developing high level relationships like that?
Yeah, that was my like best year of high school, my freshman year. I mean, it was so fun. And it was mainly because of that team. Like that team was so close, and we had so many great memories. And those were literally just all my best friends. I mean,
Yeah,
Carter Lang has been my best
he's a
friend
great guy.
since fifth grade.
Yeah.
Like so we grew up together. We played Little League together, and I loved basketball. I thought I was pretty good at it. I wasn't as good as Carter, but we were competitive, so we would always play. And like my Friday, Saturday nights, like freshman year, even sophomore year, we would go down and play pickup basketball at down at like Tonsler, or we would go to the
Yeah.
Dell, and then we would just walk and go get pizza. We played like pick up basketball till midnight, and then walk and go get pizza and like go home, and like that was our Friday Saturday night. So I loved the game of basketball. Obviously not as much as baseball, but that freshman year basketball was like the funnest team I've ever played for. Everybody was super tight. Obviously we were super good. And yeah, just a ton of great memories.
Yeah. So I remember I was playing basketball that same year too, and COVID cut off just before the postseason started. So what was it like for that team? Did you have any of the playoff? Because I mean, I think that I saw your
Yeah.
winning percentage was just
Fresh,
absurd.
freshman year we lost in the state semifinals.
Okay.
And then sophomore year we didn't even get to play because
Right.
problems with the
Yeah, yeah.
athletic. But
Yeah. We don't need to get into
we don't
that,
even
but
do that. There's a lot of problems there. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously now I want to take it to baseball. Baseball different from basketball or football in the way that there are a fair amount of guys that commit before they even play a game
Mhm.
in high school. You're one of those guys. You committed to UVA in December of freshman year. I mean, just basically how much a no-brainer was that? It was an
Yeah.
easy choice.
Yeah. I mean, I've been going to games since I was like 2 months old. I always wanted to go there. It's forever.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got the call, I was like, yeah, there's no place I'd
Yeah.
rather go to. So it was always the dream and the plan to go there.
What's that process? Do they see some of your eighth grade tape and say, I want you on your team? Does he still remember you from that game that you hit 3 home runs?
So
What
I don't
what's
I
what's
don't
the
know.
whole timeline?
Yeah, I haven't asked him about it. But basically he hadn't watched me play. Um, really, I saw it was funny. So I saw Coach Oak in the airport. Me and my dad were flying back from Alabama, Hoover, Alabama. We were at a tournament for 14U, and he wasn't at our tournament. He was flying back from a 16U tournament, and he just saw us in the airport and was like, "Hey, like you should come to like one of these prospect camps that we have. It's called a pop-up camp." So it was like 3 or 4 guys. It was me, Colin Tuft, who was a guy who was on UVA last year, he just transferred, and a kid that ended up committing to UNC, but that
Okay.
Virginia offered, and then one of my good friends, Kelly Krinberger, who's at Northwestern now. But it was kind of like an unofficial visit. Like, we hit on the field, took ground balls, took us around the campus. And that was kind of like the only thing I had done. That was my eighth grade year, so I was 14 at the time. And then didn't really know what to expect. Didn't get an offer, and they were just like, "Hey, like we want to keep seeing you. Like we'll be watching you." And so I got like a camp email for like in December of the following year, and I'd broken my wrist playing basketball. It was a basketball like
Hmm.
the beginning of the basketball season, And so I had just come back from that. I was like 2 weeks out of brace and went down to camp and did good at camp. And literally, like, I got a call. So my uncle is a high school coach in Northern Virginia, and he's sent a couple players to UVA. And so the coaches aren't allowed to. It's weird. You have to play like phone tag when you're that young of a recruit. So
Hmm.
Coach Matt called my uncle, and then my uncle called me, and like I got a call from my uncle like 10 minutes after I got home, and he was like, "Give Coach Mac a call. Here's his number," and just hung up. So I called him, and he said that he needed to talk to Coach Oak still, but that he wanted to offer me, and that they were gonna call me the next day. And yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what you're thinking there. Lifelong UVA fan.
Yeah.
I mean, you were talking about your uncle played at UVA in the 90s.
Mhm.
And even at just right now, you had your wrist broken, so you weren't really playing anything at that time. And then to get a call from Coach Mack and then Coach Oak,
Yeah.
it just must have been surreal.
Yeah, no, it was. It was. And I was nervous that whole day at school. I had to go through like a whole day at school, and then my dad like finally called me because Coach O gave him a call, just like give him a heads up, and he was like, "Yeah, like they're gonna offer you tonight." So it was cool.
Was there anyone else in your ear at that process, or was it only UVA coaches talking to you?
I didn't no, I didn't talk to another school. I don't even think another school saw me. Like I was always all in
It was
on you.
UVA from the jump.
Yeah, for sure.
So you got that call from Coach Mack. The next day, you called Coach Oak, right? Yep. And then, so you posted your commitment on Instagram, I assume that day.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. And then, what's your relationship like from the coaches there? I guess just at your time at Stab, we'll get into what happens after in a
Mhm.
little bit, but as you're still playing at Stab and then the pandemic hits, how much of contact do you have with Coach Oak, with Coach Mack, and kind of with UVA?
Um, it's not a ton. Um, we would call every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with Jack McMullen, who's Coach
Uh-huh.
Mack's son, so I would go over to his house and hit sometimes, and I would see Coach Mack. But I mean, I would really just talk to him about like questions. Like I would send Coach Mack swings or like ask him baseball questions, and we would just catch up every once in a while. But it wasn't like obviously like now, where we talk a lot more. But I mean, we would talk a good amount. It wasn't a ton, but it wasn't not a lot at the same time.
And then, so you post your commitment, right about going to just to winter break. It was
Mm,
the middle of December there. Was it like the greatest couple of weeks you ever experienced at school? Everybody's hyping you up.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, it was fun. Yeah, I told you it was in the middle of basketball season, so like
yeah.
I remember, I think like right after that, I went in, like I finally like was healthy, and I went in. And like I hit like first possession, I hit a three in the corner, and they were all chanting like UVA. Like it was cool. Yeah, it was funny. But no, it was definitely fun. I tried not to like think too much about it.
Yeah,
Obviously, remain humble, but it was definitely a good feeling.
yeah, yeah. So I assume that after the basketball season ends, you start your baseball practice, but it's shut short pretty
Yeah.
quickly. That
Mhm.
week of March 11th, take me through what was going on in the Stab basketball or baseball world?
Uh, I think we all just knew it was kind of like over
Yeah.
with. Like, um, I don't know. I was kind of fine with it. I mean, obviously, I was, competitive and wanted to, play. It was my freshman year, and I just gotten committed. And so I was pissed, obviously, just because I wasn't going to get to play baseball. But at the same time, like, there wasn't much you could control about it, and I really just tried not to like eat myself up in the terms of trying to control what I can't control, and
Yeah.
just kind of control, what I could, and just keep getting better and keep working, keep grinding, which is what I did. So obviously, it sucked and it was sad, but I tried not to I tried. I still thought about it a lot, but I tried not to think about it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So then going into the off season there, was
Mhm.
it everybody doing their individual workouts? Did the coaches send you texts every day saying this is what you should work on to get your baseball? Nothing?
Nah, it's just kind of do your own thing. I'd be in the gym a lot. I put on a good amount of weight that off season, and just being in the cage, working with my dad, working by myself. And then we still played summer baseball that year.
Yeah.
So I was still able to get some games in.
Yeah, yeah. So looking back on those couple months there, you just had all of your time dedicated to being with yourself,
Mhm.
being with your family, just grinding at baseball. Are there any things looking back at it that you kind of take away from that period, maybe being a turning point or something?
Um, not really, to be honest. Um, I feel like my turning point, like my journey, like I was always like a super hard worker, and I would always sorry about that. I would always, take a ton of swings every day. I would hit every day, take a ton of swings every day, and I never really like got a ton of like great results, if that makes sense. Like I got
Hmm.
UVA, which was incredible. But I still like I couldn't like I don't know. I wasn't as good as I thought I should be.
You felt like you had untapped potential.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the move to Baylor was like game changing. I think when I made that move, everything started to click. And I credit that all to Coach Kinney and Coach Ellie. They're two of the greatest coaches I've ever had, and just the player development there, and also just I mean they taught me so much about just like life in general too. Being
Hmm.
away from family and having those guys to lean on and learn from was awesome, and just being surrounded by great players, and the fact that we played so much baseball, like we played so many games. We were right by Atlanta, Georgia, where there's a bunch of travel ball, so I would drive up on the weekends and go play fall ball games and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like it was just constant baseball, and their guidance was next level. And I think that's really where I started to see a jump in my playing style and performance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I want to get into a little bit about what happened at Baylor, what changed, I guess, but I want to first know a little bit about why, because that's obviously a huge change. So I know the story a little bit, how that after your sophomore season, you went to your family and said that you want to kind of commit fully to baseball and kind of get more in the swing of things, and go to prep school. Is that right?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd always been super like committed to baseball. I felt like the way that the stab program was moving wasn't gonna like kind of work out for me. We had me and one other guy were the only kids on the team that played baseball outside of school. So,
Hmm.
a lot of guys, to be honest, it was a lot of my basketball friends, which was fun to like play
Yeah.
with them. But,
Yeah, yeah.
they were just kind of playing it, to hang out with me and to, get a little bit of, like, get a sports credit down and a little bit of exercise. So, it wasn't anything like super competitive. And I also I had seen like being on my travel team, guys all over the country, like seeing what they had. There are guys in Florida at like, schools like Baylor, where they can, work in an indoor facility 24/7 and, constant guidance. And they're just playing so much, a lot of guys up north, like in New Jersey, like just top notch, high school programs. And I just I kind of went to him and was like, I feel like I'm almost like tapped here. Like
Yeah.
I'm just going into the garage in my backyard and taking 500 swings off a tee and, throwing into a net and lifting. And like, that's like playing wall ball to work on ground
Right.
balls. Like, that's really all I had access to. And really all I could do. My dad works an hour and a half away, and he's
Yeah.
there 5 days a week. So he would throw me on the weekends, but it's not like I was, getting much from him. I mean, he was always my hitting coach. He was always my guy.
Yeah.
So he did his best, which I'm forever grateful for, and is, a big part of where I am now. But I felt like there wasn't a lot. Like I felt like I kind of like hit a plateau, like for the resources. And for I feel like I kind of got comfortable, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I wanted a new challenge, and I felt like that was going to make me a lot better. So I talked to UVA coaches, and Henry Godbout, who ended up being my roommate, is a year older,
Mhm.
is there. So they're like, you should check out Baylor because he's there. And it all just worked out from there. It was a pretty easy decision.
That's awesome. So I assume that you took a tour and then
Yeah.
committed. Are there any other places that you looked at, or was it always trying to go to Baylor and they just had top-notch facilities and
Yeah. No,
programs?
my mom did not want me to go. So,
Yeah, that
um, yeah, she when we went to Baylor, she really wanted a school that was like good academics too. Like she didn't want me to be
mhm.
super one dimensional, which I agree with. So Baylor, obviously super tough academics. And we had connections there too. Like one of my mom's good friends, like best friends, works at Baylor.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of good people there, and obviously, the facilities and baseball and everything was great. So really, like I was all in on Baylor, but we had to get her all in on Baylor. And uh, so when she was all in on it, it was a good decision for sure.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's not the everyday American town. I mean, from what I understand, it's kind of small, like Charlottesville. How much of an adjustment is that besides baseball to move basically, uh, I wouldn't say across the country, but a
Yeah.
couple states over? I mean, you're a junior in high school, just
Yeah.
coming out of a pandemic. I could go on and on, but what kind of adjustment was it moving to Tennessee there?
Well, great people just made it a really easy adjustment. The South is great. It's definitely different than Charlottesville, and that was a little bit
Mhm.
of an adjustment, but I think I'm a better person for it. I think I learned a lot down there. And I think it really prepared me super well, just like living on my own to come to college. I mean, I felt like from day one, I was like, ready to go in terms of like managing my time and like taking care of, all my other little stuff like, clothes and my bed and stuff like that, and getting to class on time. Um, so I think it wasn't like a huge adjustment, but
Yeah.
I think great people made it an easy adjustment.
It seems like an environment like that almost emulates kind of like what like to play in college and
100%.
how it feels for that. Like having baseball 24/7, surrounded by your teammates. Obviously, you're still going to class and everything.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think you had, um, weights in the morning and then practice in the afternoon or games in
Yep.
the afternoon. So, how beneficial is that to kind of get in that environment early?
100%. I mean, it was huge, and I credit it all to how prepared I came in to UVA. I think, like you said, that schedule of, early morning weights, then, go eat breakfast, go to class. I would have free periods. So I would hit during my free periods. And then, get lunch, go to class, and then straight to practice. And then, practice in the evening. And then I would go to dinner and then go hit again. Like it was just constant work. And I loved it. And I think it's important, if you want to get good at, sport like baseball, you gotta love the grind, you gotta love the work. And I think I mean, I'd always been in love with the work, but I think, doing that and like having a routine and having the resources that I had there was next level for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So take me through that schedule again. It sounded like there were four hitting times a day. You just surrounded by your teammates the entire, like everybody has this.
No,
What's it like?
I'd probably hit maybe even too much. Um, I would do weights in the morning. And
Get
if
up
I
around when? Get up around.
6:30, I'd be in
Okay.
the weight room at 6:30. And if I wanted to, I'd hit too, but normally I just do weights. And then breakfast at 8. So I'd lift for like an
Hmm.
hour and then go shower and go get breakfast and then class at like 8:40. And then I'd probably have class for like an hour. And then normally I have like a free period, which I would go hit, which is like an hour. So
Hmm.
I would just go down to the indoor facility. And if there were people down there, I'd hit with them. We'd feed machines to each other. Otherwise, I would hit off a tee and just work on, drills and stuff like that. And then lunch and probably like another hour long class, probably two more like back to back. And then probably like 4 o'clock practice for like 2.5 hours, I'd say, which is, obviously all team stuff. And then go get a bite to eat. And then I'd go right back to it. I would hit, there were a bunch of guys on the team that, um, loved it like me. So we'd have 4 or 5 guys in there late night, hitting off machines. We had this thing called Hit Track, so which
Uh-huh.
is like a camera that, you'd hit it and it would tell you where the ball went and like how far and how fast you hit it. So we would have little competitions and, try and make each other better, which was fun. And there was a lot of great talent up there too. Like our coach's son was a first round pick out of high school to the
Yep.
Rays. So he would be there in
Okay.
off seasons and he would come hit with us, which was really cool. It was a really great environment. And everybody loved to hit, so we were always there.
Love that. You mentioned the world-class facilities. What was it like being able to experience just environments like that, and an atmosphere like that? And I mean, really, what's comparable to a high-level college facility on a daily basis at,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess such a young age compared to everybody else.
yeah, I definitely didn't take it for granted. I like milked every ounce out of that place that I could. I was always in there. Pretty much any free time I had, I tried to be in there, and it was just incredible. Like I felt, like I could do anything. I could get really creative with it. And we had like a little pitch bank. We had a really big turf area,
Yeah.
so like me and Henry Godbout would like play like this game where there was like a pitch back that we had and we would like throw it off it and you would have to field it and whoever dropped it first would get out. And it was, it literally had anything. You could do speed work in there, you could hit each other ground balls, you could throw, you could obviously hit in the cages, which is right next to it, you could lift, like
Yeah.
it was a dream. Like you could, there were so many ways to get better. And definitely made it a lot easier to get better.
Besides just working all the time, being in the cages, are there any tricks that you found to change up your mechanics or specific coaching things that you really found was helpful during your couple years there in Tennessee?
Yeah, yeah, my coach Kenny was big influence on my swing
Uh-huh.
mechanics. I I didn't really know a lot about swing mechanics coming there. And so he kind of taught me like a whole new philosophy in
Hmm.
terms of how I hit. And it took a long time to, figure out. And we put in a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. And, you would see start out bad and, eventually, a couple weeks go by, it gets a little better, it gets a little better, it gets a little better. And then eventually it turns into a pretty good product. So I credit, 3/4 of, what I do at the plate to him. I mean, he's had a big influence on me and definitely, my performance as well.
And then during your time there, how much communication do you have with the UVA staff? Because obviously you're with a future, current and future teammate there and Henry Godbout, but just talking about your development, your plans, everything like that. Is there any communication there?
They kind of just let me do my thing. I mean, we would talk and I would send
Yeah.
Coach Mac videos and ask him questions and, catch up with him and Coach Oak. And I had my unofficial and official visits, so they had seen me play and like
Yeah.
hit on the field and take ground balls. So And then obviously they communicate with my coaches too. So
Yeah.
it was just kind of like the same. Like it was pretty consistent throughout high school in terms of like how much we
Okay.
talked and communicated. It was cool though. Like junior year, you can actually call them, which was nice. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit easier to get in touch with them, which was made it a lot easier for sure.
So junior year, you were able to call them. I guess you were only able to what text and I guess call via.
Well, yeah, we were able to text, or I don't even know if they were able to. They weren't even able to respond to my texts until junior
Okay.
year.
Hmm.
And then you had to call them junior year. They couldn't call you, um, which was weird. So like, that's what I meant. So my junior year, they could call me, which was
Yeah.
nice. Um,
That's weird.
yeah, yeah. So like I was saying, like my freshman year, like I was playing phone tag with my
Yeah.
uncle. He was like, "Tell Coach Mac you're calling him in 5 minutes, and then call him." Like, because Coach Mac couldn't text me that. But yeah,
Yeah, that's certainly weird how they set it up. I mean, I want to get a little bit ahead now, but you're obviously one of the best corner infielders in college baseball already. Stab and Baylor prepared you well. Was there ever any thought of if you'd forego your time at UVA and try to make it into the draft, or you always wanted to play at the dish?
um, yeah. There was talks of it, but I always wanted to play at the dish for sure,
Yeah.
and it was gonna take a ton of money to take me
Hmm.
away from that, and that didn't happen. That I got that, so I'm super happy that it worked out that way, and that I
Yeah.
get to play here, for my hometown and for this university. And yeah, to be honest, like I'm relieved that it worked out the way it did, and I'm happy that I made it here.
Had you had any direct or indirect communication with major league clubs, either saying where you might go in the draft, what they might use you for, a plan like that?
Yeah, I had meetings with a couple teams. But I called my coach at Baylor told me he was like you'd probably
Yeah.
be like a 10th to 15th rounder.
Okay.
So that wasn't gonna cut it.
Yeah.
But um yeah, it was a pretty easy decision for
And then
sure.
obviously that's a goal now after 2 or 3 years to be eligible and then eventually get drafted first
Yep.
couple of days.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Then before we wrap up here, I have a couple more for you. I may be a little biased on this one, but I think summer collegiate baseball is just flat out awesome, and I think you'd say the same. How impactful was your month and a half with the Tom Sox? You broke your finger, obviously, left you out a month. Some big adversity there, but you really impacted the team from start to finish.
Yeah, super impactful. I mean, just being able to play with guys who had been there before.
Yeah.
Kind of, early on, just like proving to myself that I could compete at that level and that I could do it. And then going through struggle and, having to figure out how to get out of that. I came back from my thumb and I think I was like 1 for 20 or something. Like I was awful.
Hmm.
And that's how a season is. You have hot streaks and then you cool down, and how quickly can you get out of the hole? How quickly can you get out of the struggles? And I think the Tom Sox taught me a lot about that. And obviously, I'm super competitive and I want to do well, but learning to like care less about the results was
Yeah.
big for me in the summer. Once I started kind of, like I got out, all right, move on, like next pitch, next play. That was big for me, and I think that's when I started having a lot more success.
Was that almost I mean, besides other things, was that almost an adjustment to sort of college rules? You have the pitch clock, you were obviously using wooden bats, which is
Mm.
not used in college, but was that kind of like getting your feet warm in the water before you really dove deep into it?
Yeah, I think I didn't feel like it was a crazy adjustment, but I do
Uh-huh.
feel like yeah, like it was definitely different from high school for sure. I think obviously the arms were a little bit better and the
Right.
game was a little bit more fast paced. Um, yeah, and I think it was great for me because I had so many successes but also so many failures and like how
Right.
to deal with both of those was huge. And, playing the amount of games, and we played a ton of games in a short amount of time. So being ready to go every day and taking care of my body and showing up physically and mentally was a big part of it too.
You mentioned also we had, a number of guys that were in their fourth or fifth year of college baseball. You're coming into your first year. So how impactful and what do you kind of learn from leadership of guys like Spikes on the team?
Yeah. Yeah. No, Spikes was a character. He was the man. Just so much. I mean, they gave me a lot of, little ins and outs. And I think him and like Kyle Edwards and
Hmm.
the Wofford boys, Wiley and Martinez, were big in
Yeah.
helping me like through my struggle. Like at the end of the day, they were just like, it doesn't matter. Like just like
Yeah.
move on, like get better. There's so many more games. Like there's so many more pitches. Like I would get hung up on like a strikeout or something, and I would get pissed, and they were just like, calm down, like move on. And I think, once that got through my head, it was, a lot more success came out of it. And
Yeah.
also just, I mean, I remember like, Bryce, we would talk like, hitting approach. I didn't really have a hitting approach. I would kind of just go up there and, swing it. And he said, it's one of my favorite quotes. He's like, good hitters get jammed. So like
Hmm.
he would get up on the plate and he would just try and hit the ball hard to the right side of the field. And I mean, he's a phenomenal hitter, one of the best hitters I've ever seen. So, just kind of starting to develop an approach, which I really started to do at Virginia, but having kind of like you said, like getting my feet wet and starting to develop a little bit of an approach was big for me as well.
Kind of playing consistently like that if that's kind of what you're talking about. And then if
Yeah.
I remember right, you're playing in a summer league in Wisconsin this summer. Talk to me a little bit about that and why that gets you excited.
Yeah. Yeah. The Northwoods League I've heard is a great league, and
Hmm.
play a ton of games, kind of like the Tom Sox play every day, which I'm really excited about. I love playing the game, and every opportunity I get to play the game, I'm grateful for. So definitely excited to just play against good competition and play a lot of baseball.
Yeah, yeah. I think in your first four games with the Tom Sox, you had five extra base hits, five or six extra base hits, four doubles, and either one or two home runs. When you're on a hot streak like that, and you've had some at UVA here now through 28 games, when you're on a hot streak like that, do you feel it? Do you know in the moment that you're on a hot streak?
Uh, it's a good question. I think, yeah, but I also try not to really think about it. Like, um, I think you dig yourself a hole when you think that you're hot or you think that you're cold. So I try
Yeah,
and stay, really consistent and just show up every day and do my routine and stick to my approach. And obviously there's some days when you show up to the field and your swing feels better than, other days, or, you're hitting balls better than other days, but
yep.
being able to make adjustments and when your swing's not feeling good, how do you still compete at the highest level and compete to the best of your abilities. I definitely think you feel it, but at the same time you kind of don't, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mentioned it earlier, single season home run leader for the Tom Sox in, the Tom Sox almost decade long history. You put up a heater, so it was certainly fun to watch and must have been a good feeling to know that um you were in college baseball and you didn't really miss a beat from when you
Mhm.
were in high school. I
Yeah.
want to talk about that same CBS interview and Parker Coleman did with the Tom Sox over the summer. You mentioned in that interview that it was a goal of yours to get the starting job, to earn the starting job for UVA. You've done that. You've done that and some more. Become an instant fan favorite around here. I mentioned some of your stats earlier. How satisfying is that, and how rewarding is that to, I guess, see your dreams come to life?
Yeah, it's definitely surreal, and I don't take it for granted every time I'm out there. And it is a dream of mine. So I try and play as hard as I can, just because I know that it means a lot to me. But at the same time, I try not to think about that stuff just right now, just because, mid-season, I just try and focus on the next game and the next, pitch and the next play. But it's definitely surreal, and I don't take it for granted.
Yeah. Playing through the ups and downs of the season. I mean, UVA, I think the record this year as of recording is 22-6. So obviously gotten to a great start. What's it like being on this team specifically, this group of guys? ACC play just starting up. How exciting is it for you?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, this team is super tight. It's truly a brotherhood. Like everybody, really cares about each other and has each other's backs. And it's been like that since day one, to be honest. And I think, that's credit to great, upperclassmen leadership. Guys like Griff and Tony, EA, Casey. I mean, they've done a great job in, leading the team and especially being there for the younger guys. And it's the funnest baseball I've played 100%.
Mhm.
It's a group of like super competitive guys. And when you have, guys that are super similar and competitive like that, good results happen, and it's fun to play on a team and, hit behind a guy that, is like you and know that, wants to win as bad as you.
Yeah, I can imagine how everybody sort of at that high of a level, everybody is not only rooting for each other, but trusts each other and supports each other. Kind of that leadership, like you were talking about there. So as we progress through the season, both individually, you said that you don't kind of want to look ahead. Do you have any goals that you could share? Are there any team goals? Trying to reach it back to Omaha as always. Things like
Yeah,
that for the rest of this 2024 season.
I think 100%. I'm focused on what the team is focused on is just national championship,
Yep.
100%. And win, you know, as many games as we can, win every game.
Yeah.
And that's been our goal, is to take it one game at a time. And, we play in, best conference in college baseball. And it's tough to win games, and, just to show up every day and do what it takes to win every game is, where we're at right now. But obviously the national championship is what we're after.
Omaha is always the goal. You've gotten mentioned on a couple of top 10 freshman lists, top 10 infielders list. Does any of that stuff matter to you?
To I mean, it's flattering to see that, but at the end of the day, no. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, I just want to help my team win. And whatever way I can do that is what matters most to me. And I know in my heart, and that I'm good, and I believe that,
Yep.
and I'm always going to believe that, and I believe I'm the best, and I'm always going to believe that. But I mean, it's definitely flattering and it's humbling. But at the same time, I'm more focused on just helping the team.
And then for Wahoo Nation, I think someone tweeted out yesterday that Henry Ford is a professional hitter already as a freshman. Everybody is absolutely enamored with your game. Obviously, there are memes all over the place of the Henry Ford name,
Yeah.
and those kind of get old pretty quickly. But um, how awesome is it to see kind of Wahoo Nation, a fan base that you've been a part of your entire life, kind of rallying around you as you're on this hot streak here?
It's super cool, and it definitely gives me a lot of energy and a lot of motivation
Yep.
to play for and perform for them. And like I said, it feels really good. And it's a dream to be in the position that I am. And like I said, I'll just say it over and over. Like, I don't take it for granted. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's really a blessing.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. I want to get a couple quick hitters here before I
Um,
let you go about your day. Who's a player, first of all, that you modeled your game after?
um, Ryan Zimmerman,
Okay.
he's my guy.
Mr. National himself,
Yeah.
beloved around here. Is there a reason that you wear number nine?
Um, Sort of. When I was younger, I was originally number three, and
Mhm.
I switched it up because I think like the jersey was too small or something in Little League. And I chose number 9 just because Ted Williams. I've always loved Ted Williams. I think he's the greatest hitter of all time. And then I love The Natural movie, and he's number 9. So I thought it was a good looking number, and mainly just those 2 reasons.
That's awesome. Go-to gas station snack and drink combo.
Gas station snack and drink combo. I'd go. That's a good one. I like the sausage, egg, and cheese from Bel Air, the little biscuits. And then I normally get chocolate milk with it.
That's a staple.
I like to get that in the morning.
Baylor Market is a staple.
Yeah.
Who's an actor that you want to play you in a movie?
That's a great one. I'd say Harrison Ford when he was younger, just because I guess you could say we kind of look alike, and I was either going to be named Henry or Harrison, so he's kind of my namesake. Yeah.
All right. These 2 go together. What's the reason? Well, first of all, what is your walk-up song? What's the reason behind it? And then, if you could only listen to one artist for the rest of your life, who would it be?
That's a good question. So my walk-up song is "Up Around the Bend." And I was always gonna do. I always kind of want to do an '80s song. I like rap, but I think like when I go up to the plate, I want to be like locked in, but I don't want something that's gonna like get me super hyped. I want something that's just gonna like give me like a little jolt. So my family like was big on my walk-up song. They were like, "You got to pick the right one. Like you got to get a good one." So I gave them a couple options. But I liked Up Around the Bend the most, and they signed off on it. So it was a pretty easy decision. And then,
awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
Wait, what was the? Oh, if I could listen to one artist for the rest of my life. That's a good one.
If you can pick like a top 3, if you don't have one.
Well, I'd say I'd probably go with Morgan Wallen, just because like country, I could listen to country in any mood. Like I'd probably get tired of rap. Like really quick.
That's a good answer.
I'd probably go with him. Yeah.
That's a good answer. Would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
1 horse-sized duck for sure.
Awesome. All right, last question. This is a question I ask every single person I have on this show and every other show. If every person I talk to, I ask this question. What is one great piece of advice that someone has given you and you would like to share with the world?
That's a good one too.
Can be anything. It can be about baseball. It can be about life. It can be about food, movies, whatever you want.
That's a good one.
One great piece of advice.
I mean, I said it earlier in the show, just because we're on the baseball topic. But I mean that the good hitters get jammed from Bryce Martinez was big for me, and it sounds like silly, but just like being up there and staying calm and having the approach to right field and letting the ball travel. You end up not getting jammed when you're thinking that way, which was kind of weird for me. That's probably a lame like advice or quote to do, but it's one that's really stuck with me in my baseball career. So I'd probably go with that one just because it's in my head right now.
I think that's a great word to live by. It can also be converted to a metaphor for life. Just when life gets you down, there's always a next at bat coming, and just keep your head up and keep going. So Henry Ford, first baseman, third baseman, do it all, hitter for the University of Virginia Cavaliers, Charlottesville native, H3 baseball, McIntyre Little League legend. That's a mouthful. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and for all the listeners and viewers, we'd really appreciate it. Once again, if you'd subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff really helps us out. Follow and review wherever you get your podcast. Unique Pathways presented by H3 Sports. I'm your host, Ben Rekosh, and once again, thanks so much to our guest today, Henry Ford.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Unique Pathways is sponsored by Piedmont Realty Holdings, building better together. Bellaterra Landscaping and Hardscaping Services. ECS Prosthetics, we come to you. Jeff Burton Consulting, charting your path to a successful outcome. Major League Mindset, results on and off the field. Blue Sky Property Management, own your experience. BSN Sports, the heart of the game. And by Croze Sports, community, family, and sports.